Welcome to the Enriching Book Club, where we take the greatest ideas ever written and bring them to life for the modern mind. Which timeless masterpiece are we unlocking today? Let's find out.
Imagine waking up on the morning of your 30th birthday. You're expecting a perfectly normal day, but instead you find yourself suddenly under arrest. And here's the real kicker. Absolutely no one will tell you what your crime actually is. You're completely in the dark, accused by forces you literally can't even see.
Today, we're stepping directly into the fascinating, wildly frustrating, and absolutely brilliant maze of Franz Kafka's 1925 masterpiece, The Trial. In this explainer, we're going to unpack a story that has haunted readers for nearly a century. And it endures for a good reason. It taps into our deepest, darkest fears about control, hidden guilt, and those massive, faceless systems that govern so much of our modern lives.
Section 1. The Absurd Arrest. A Mystery Without a Crime.
So, our protagonist is Joseph K. He's a highly respected, successful bank official. His life is totally orderly, right up until the morning of that 30th birthday. He's suddenly arrested, but the weird part is he's never actually locked up. He's allowed to just go about his daily life and keep going to work. But over the months following that arrest, he gets completely swallowed up by this bizarre, shadow-like legal process. We're talking absurd hearings in hidden courtrooms tucked away in random attics, seeking advice from weird legal insiders, and just getting dragged deeper and deeper into the mud. And the tragic irony of this whole timeline is that every single attempt Joseph makes to defend himself doesn't clear his name at all. It actually just entangles him further into the labyrinth, all the way until it culminates in a final, tragic execution in a deserted quarry.
Section 2. The Kafkaesque Machine. The Invisible Bureaucracy.
So if Joseph K. is the victim of this mystery, who or what is the suspect? Well, the enemy here isn't a single person with a weapon. It's the court system itself, and by extension, modern institutional bureaucracy. You've probably heard the term thrown around, Kafkaesque. It's that overwhelming, suffocating feeling of being trapped in an absurd, impersonal system that you just can't escape. Think about the last time you were stuck in an endless corporate phone tree, trying to reach an actual human being to fix a banking error you didn't even make, just pressing numbers into the void. That sheer, helpless frustration? Yeah, that is exactly what Kafka captured way back in the 1920s. The court system in this novel is uniquely terrifying. It's vast, but totally invisible. It's highly organized, but entirely incomprehensible to anyone actually trying to navigate it. It has infinite power, yet it's completely unaccountable for its actions. Literally nobody, and I mean not even the court's own high-ranking officials, fully understands how this massive machine actually works. It completely governs human life while staying entirely detached from the ordinary people it's crushing.
And because of this massive, faceless machine, Joseph K. experiences a profound reality of alienation. I mean, his friends offer absolutely no real solutions. The lawyers he desperately hires, they prove utterly useless and completely self-serving. Even the authority figures he turns to just spit out contradictions instead of any actual guidance. Kafka is basically painting a really grim picture of modern life as a condition of intense, profound loneliness. The harder Joseph tries to reach out and get help, the more isolated and alienated he becomes from the rest of humanity. Meaningful communication just completely breaks down.
Section 3. The Psychology of Guilt. The Enemy Within.
Now, we need to step away from the physical, bureaucratic absurdity of those external courtrooms and step directly into our protagonist's mind. We have to ask, why does Joseph K. feel guilty if he is genuinely innocent? Well, Kafka never actually reveals the crime to us, because frankly, the actual crime is completely beside the point. The real existential dread in this novel comes from the fact that Joseph gradually internalizes the vague accusation. He starts out the story aggressively demanding justice and answers, right? But slowly, quietly, he shifts into accepting punishment for a crime he doesn't even know he committed.
So where is this mysterious inner guilt actually coming from? The sources are deeply universally human. It stems from our inherent human imperfection, our constant self-consciousness, our inescapable awareness of our own mortality, and that nagging, quiet feeling that we're failing to live authentically. Kafka is suggesting that the court isn't just a physical government building. It's an external manifestation of these deep inner psychological conditions. As human beings, we often carry around a profound sense of guilt without ever really knowing its exact source.
Think about how power operates for a second. Physical domination governs through walls, cages, and brute force. But what Kafka explores here is psychological submission. This governs through ambiguity, fear, uncertainty, and self-surveillance. Kafka had this absolutely incredible foresight into authoritarianism and modern social control. The court rarely even uses force because, well, it doesn't have to. Joseph K. literally becomes his own jailer. The system's greatest victory isn't locking him in a cell, it's getting him to submit mentally.
Section 4. Before the Law. The Philosophical Center.
Nested right within the larger story is this short, haunting parable. On the surface, it's deceptively simple. A man from the country spends his entire life waiting at a gate for permission to access the law. He sits there for years. He begs the intimidating gatekeeper. He tries to bribe him. He grows old. His eyesight fails, and he just wastes away. The whole tragedy lies in his complete passivity. He just sits there waiting for permission to enter, rather than actually taking agency and doing something.
And then, right at the exact moment of the man's death, the gatekeeper leans in and delivers this absolutely devastating line. The door was meant solely for him. And then he announces he's going to close it forever. It's just a terrible, gut-wrenching irony. The man wasted his entire life waiting for access to a path that belonged to absolutely no one else but him, yet he never once had the courage to just get up and walk through it.
So, what are we actually supposed to take away from this? Scholars have debated this intensely. Some view it as humanity's eternal search for truth, others see it through a religious lens, representing a longing for God, or a commentary on the absolute impossibility of ever achieving ultimate knowledge. But perhaps most practically for us, it's a stark warning about the danger of surrendering your own agency. The silence of the gatekeeper, much like the silence of the court, mirrors the silence of the universe itself. We so desperately want ultimate meaning, but it just remains hidden behind endless layers of ambiguity.
Section 5. Prisons of Our Own Making. The Tragic Resolution.
The story ends with a death without answers. Joseph K. never learned his crime. He never saw his actual high judges, and he never understood the rules that governed his fate. But the ultimate tragedy isn't really just his death. The real tragedy is that his final thoughts reflect shame rather than rebellion. He doesn't fight back at the end. He completely accepts the logic of his own destruction, basically proving that the absurd system has achieved a total flawless victory over his spirit.
In the final chapter, he's taken to a deserted quarry by two officials and executed, in Kafka's own unforgettable words, like a dog. It's a stark, brutal, and highly memorable final image that just leaves you with this haunting sense of existential defeat. There's no traditional redemption arc here, no sudden revelation that makes sense of all the suffering.
Which leaves us with one final, deeply unsettling thought to end our explainer today. Are the greatest prisons built from walls, or from our own uncertainty and guilt? Kafka's masterpiece warns us that the absolute greatest barriers limiting us in modern life are often entirely psychological. So as you deal with the systems, the rules, and the endless bureaucracies in your own life, how might your own psychological barriers be limiting your agency? Thank you so much for exploring the trial with me, and remember, never stop questioning the systems around you.